The Alpha Sessions.
Hello everybody and welcome to the Alpha Sessions once again with me, Lucy Wroe, and today, Ben Burwell.
Lovely to be here, thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming in. So, how are you?
I'm really well, thank you. Really well, yeah.
Really well?
Really well.
I like that, that's a good start.
It's my first time doing radio.
Your first time?
Yeah, I think my few songs went well. I'm a happy boy.
It sounds good. I'm excited to talk to you a little bit about your music and what you're looking to do this year. And I'm interested particularly because you haven't yet released officially anything.
No, I'm yet to release on streaming platforms.
Indeed, but you're incredibly active in terms of gigging, in terms of TikTok, which is a huge topic, as always, and social media. But first of all, take me right back to the beginning. What were your beginnings in music?
So my dad was a producer, but he sort of quit the industry when I was pretty young, and out of purely his own sort of volition, like he was doing really well. He had worked with some really cool people, big gigs and stuff like that, but he decided to step back from it when he had me and my brother, and so I sort of grew up around music. Like as a baby, before I really remember, I was in, like, instead of hiring a babysitter, they just took me to the studio. So I sort of grew up on the laps of like some pretty decent sized artists and stuff.
Nice.
So I was sort of surrounded by it from a very young age.
Yeah.
And then my parents were very supportive of me growing up, in terms of the music especially. And sort of I tried to learn piano first with my dad. Didn't go well, so they were like, we should get another teacher. And then I changed my mind. I was like, I want to play drums. They were like, absolutely not, way too noisy.
No.
So then I picked up the guitar, and so I started playing in school, in primary school, and then sort of went on and just kept playing. And yeah, it's just sort of kept going in a way. So I've just graduated from doing music at university, and I sort of moved to London with the intention to become a songwriter for other people. So writing for other people instead of myself. But then I bumped into some sort of promoters and stuff. They asked me to play, and then they kept asking me to play, and I discovered I really love playing my own songs. So yeah, it almost fell into my lap, and I've just kept it up.
And for those who haven't heard your sound yet, how would you describe the way your music comes across?
So I think, like, genre-wise, I write pop music. I think there's no denying that. I think a lot of people want to be sort of different and indie, but I write pop music. I've got a lot of influence from, like, American folk music and indie rock and stuff like that. But the stuff I write, and especially the stuff I play at my gigs when it's just me and a guitar, it's pop music.
I mean, there's nothing wrong with a bit of pop.
No, absolutely not.
Everybody loves a bit of pop.
Absolutely not.
And it's so
popular
broad.
for a reason.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how do you really define that now? That's a huge question, but I love talking about that kind of thing.
I've been trying to categorise my playlist at the moment. I'm like, what genre is this? You know, like what are genres?
The lines are blurred now,
100%.
But I mean, do you think that's a good thing for musicians?
100%. I think there's not as much pressure to sort of fit into a specific box. I think you've got the sort of option to do whatever you want and sort of carve your own path, which is why I can get away with claiming that I've got influences from all over and writing pop music.
Well, most people do. So you mentioned in passing you studied music.
Yes.
Was that more of the business side of things, or do you do a lot of practical stuff, contemporary studies? Or?
So my course was titled Music Industry Practice, and it sort of aimed to equip me with the skills to become a recording artist and make a living in the music industry doing something I love. And personally, I specialised in the songwriting side, but it covered all sorts of things. So we're talking the obvious stuff like songwriting and production and a bit of performance, but then I also did sort of contract law, I did consumer psychology, like, so to really sort of, like, it was a very holistic course, which I found a lot of value in.
Yeah, I think the business side of things is often overlooked
100%,
by a lot of indie artists,
100%.
so it's really good to get into that. Contracts, I studied a bit of contracts, and they are heavy. They're so dense.
It's dull. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's dull, but it's important. So it's something I've tried to sort of retain.
Yeah. Do you think studying that kind of thing, or studying music in general, do you think it's affected the way you see the industry compared to how you did before, or in a good way, or
100%? So I mean, you've got to consider that before I was on this course, you know, I was 17, 18. going, you know, I'm going to move to London, I'm going to be a musician. So there's sort of like a certain level of naivety that comes with that anyway. But like having been in the industry for 3 years now, having sort of been studying through the lens of really like great industry professionals as my tutors, I've definitely sort of got a vision of the practicalities a lot more than I did when I was in sixth form, for example. But it hasn't dissuaded me. It's just sort of adjusted my expectations in terms of what's expected from me, I think, because I was sort of expecting to just write songs in my bedroom, you know, not have to do much work, maybe play the odd gig, but it's hard work. It's a lot harder than I thought it was going to be.
It is. But, I mean, you seem like you're ready for it, though. Like, some people, as soon as they catch a little bit of it and they experience it for a couple of years and they think, this is just too much. Because at the moment, I think the way the industry is, it is a lot to pile on
100%.
to an independent artist. But, I mean, if you could change one thing about the modern music industry, would there be something that comes to mind?
Oh, the industry as a whole.
Or even something tiny about the gig circuit or about streaming or...
I would love for it to be sort of slightly easier to get through gatekeepers, if you get what I mean, with sort of like playlist editors and radio hosts and like, I mean, so it's, and record labels, for example, like there's a certain level of like proactivity, is that a word? Being proactive about it. So I've done a lot of just essentially cold calling, emailing people, messaging people. Like, for example, I emailed you guys. I was like, I'd love to come on the show. And I think once you accept that, it's not so bad. But there is an element of, you know, I'm doing two jobs because I'm not only an artist and a writer and all of this. Like, I'm not just a musician, I'm a marketer. So I'm essentially doing digital marketing as my full-time job alongside an actual full-time job as well. So that would, I don't know whether it's something I'd change, but it's something I'd like to be easier.
Definitely. But despite all that, you sound like you're quite clued up about everything, which is good. In saying that, why until now have you not released anything in the past few years?
So I'm not a producer. I mentioned before I've done production modules at uni and stuff. I just don't have the ear for it. And frankly, I don't really enjoy it that much. Like, it's not the side of music that I enjoy doing. So I wasn't really able to produce my own stuff. Like, I had the kit, I could record demos and send those out to people, but nothing that was good enough to be released. And producers are expensive, first of all. And although I was at music uni, like the vast majority of the producers I met were sort of like techno, electronic music, and like no disrespect whatsoever to that. Like, it's just a different skill set. So them producing me wasn't sort of what I wanted. And I think there's a certain level when you're starting out of perfectionism. You're like, everything has to be right. And I got very lucky and I got put in touch with some producers. So I met them after one of my gigs. He introduced me to another producer, and we really hit it off. Our styles really lined up, and they sort of wanted to invest in me. So we recorded 3 songs together, and that was last year. Sort of finished those up just about around New Year's, just before Christmas. And I then had a meeting with a record label, a relatively small one, but a sort of alternative folk label. And I went into it and I was like, I'm super excited, obviously. But I was like, I know that I'm not quite the right artist for these guys. Like, my sound isn't quite what they normally have. So I was sort of wondering what the angle was. But, you know, I met the most lovely guy who runs it. And he just gave me some advice, and we just ended up chatting for a while. And part of the advice he gave me was like, you need a solid social media foundation to be released in, because you want people to listen to your tracks. Once you release, people are only going to be looking at your streaming numbers. And if you don't have a good audience to listen, then people aren't going to care once you release your next stuff, or you won't get as many gigs and stuff. And I was like, I think there's certainly a degree of truth to that, and I would not question the word of a man who's been in the industry that long. But it has got to the point now, sort of 6 months on from that conversation, where I'm sort of plugging away at the social media, and like, I just want to get it out there. And I think the longer I wait, the more of a perfectionist I'm going to be about it. So I think I want to get something out there, and I want to use it to promote myself on social media. So I think I started waiting because I was a perfectionist, and then continued waiting because I wanted everything to go right around the tracks. And now I'm sort of at the point where I'm like, I've got to take the plunge, got to release something.
Words are coming out my mouth, I don't remember speaking. Automatic movie star, I really shouldn't be sleeping. Going home on the tube to fancy cars, can need a breath of fresh air. Small talk, and where did you get that scar? The real world just can't compare. You can try to find an answer, maybe it's hiding in your dreams. Fireworks and backup dancers, I think it's a little lost on me. You can try to find salvation if you think that it'll help you see. Vapor dreams and expectations, I think it's a little lost on me. I know where my next meal comes from, it's the English American dream. Let's not discredit America, those people know what messed up means. Corporate castles suck the life out of anyone who comes close. Bleed us dry, we didn't even see the knife till it was out my throat. You can try to find an answer, maybe it's hiding in your dreams. Fireworks and backup dancers, I think it's a little lost on me. You can try to find salvation if you think that it'll help you see. Paper dreams and expectations, I think it's a little lost on me. I think it's a little lost on me, try and tell us who we're supposed to be. I think it's a little lost on me, pointless job from my pointless degree. I think it's a little lost on me, try and blame my chemistry. I think it's a little lost on me, do they think we're that naive? And you can try to find an answer, maybe it's hiding in your dreams. Fireworks and backup dancers, I think it's a little lost on me. And you can try to find salvation if you think that it'll help you sleep. Your dreams and expectations, I think it's a little lost on me.
The Alpha Sessions.
Lost on Me is actually a song I wrote when I was about 16, and then I shelved it, and I didn't look at it until about 2 months ago. And I went, it's a really good chorus. I quite like this chorus, actually. I was like, the chords are rubbish, though, so I changed the chords. And I was like, but I really like this chorus. And then sort of picked the parts I liked from the rest of the song and sort of like rebuilt the song around that chorus. And so it's one I really like. One that like I played today because I love playing it. Like I was sort of was talking to my dad about what I should play, like which 3 songs. Like definitely finished with Do It To Myself. Like what should we do for the others? We're like, well, it needs to be upbeat, but we want some range, so we put Losing Time in the middle there. And I was like, what do I play first? I've got a few to choose from, and Losing Time might not be the best out of the ones I had in terms of like what I could choose, and it's not one I've got recorded, but I was like, I just love it. Like I really love it, and I really love playing it, and I think that comes across in a performance. When you enjoy playing a song, you're going to sound better. You're going to sound happier, and it's a happy song. which is why I settled on it. So it is one that I would love to get recorded, but not one I do have recorded at the moment.
Interesting. Well, it is interesting that you say you amended it in a way, like it's had 2 lives.
Absolutely.
You revived it, because that's a songwriting process that a lot of people struggle with, I think, is that when something has been written, that's the way it is. And then when you come back to it and you think, ugh, no, it's not very good, and you just shelve it again.
100%.
But to amend it is a good skill.
Yeah, I've got a few songs that I've amended, and I quite often have good choruses, and then I listen back to the verses I wrote when I was 15, 16, and I'm like, these are, like, the lyrics aren't terrible, but musically it's not very good. Like, it's just quite boring, aside from anything else. I was like, you know, a song should, like, whilst the chorus is your catchy part, you know, that's your hook, that's your memorable part of the song. If your first verse isn't very good, people are just going to turn the song off or skip it or whatever. People aren't going to care. So I think I've looked back on a lot of my old songs with the lens of, are people going to care about this? When they hear the first, like, 3 lines, like 2, 3, 4 lines, whatever it is. And I thought they wouldn't when I listened back to it. So, yeah, I changed it up.
I mean, if you're happy with the new result, then that's a win.
100%.
But there's something very sad about the whole commercial... Like, I was told as well when I studied, you've got to be thinking about the first 15 seconds or 10 seconds, and people's attention spans these days will just out the window.
Yeah.
And isn't that so sad?
It is.
There's no attention.
It is. So I remember in my first year when I started, I had a tutor called Tanya. And I love Tanya. Tanya is one of the most talented songwriters I've ever had the pleasure to sort of be in the room with. But I'm a very wordy songwriter. Like, I'm lyrical. Like, I'm a lyricist first and foremost, I think. So I care about getting across as many words as I can. And sometimes that makes for wordier choruses, wordier, like, it's not sort of like 3 words repeated throughout my choruses. They're wordy. And I remember I'd written this song, and I was quite happy with it, and I took it to her for a one-to-one, and she said to me, like, I like the song, there's a couple of changes I would make, and I made those changes. I was like, you're absolutely right. Then she said, I changed the chorus, and it was a song called Old Friends, and it just went, and like the words were something along the lines of, don't be afraid to make old friends again. That was sort of the tagline. And she was like, just what about if it's just like old friends, old friends, old friends? And I was like, that would work for you, but it doesn't work for me. And yours is also a lot more commercial, and I value that and I respect that, but I couldn't bring myself to do it. I was like, it's not me. It didn't feel authentic. And I think there's definitely finding a balance between finding success and finding your own sound.
Yeah, I know, I agree. It's a hard balance to strike, I feel. So if you're quite lyrical, would you say your songwriting processes are always lyric based, or does the music come with the lyrics and the melodies?
So when I'm writing by myself, it's lyrics are the first thing I think about. I almost always have a melody in my mind when, like, the lyrics come, they sort of come together already. Sometimes they'll come together already. I'll get all the lyrics down, I'll go, don't like the melody, so I'll change the melody. But it's lyrics first when I'm writing by myself. But when I'm writing with other people, I almost always get them to go, like, lay something down. Like, I tend to write with instrumentalists because you know, I'm a lyricist, and there are lots of brilliant lyricists out there. You don't need 2 lyricists on one track if you're trying to find a balance. So if I'm just writing with one person, I'll tend to write with someone who writes really good instrumental, like, backing tracks and stuff. So I'll just get them, we'll get in the studio, I'll say, like, lay something down, like, and then I'll jump on and put a top line on it. And that's created some really interesting results and some stuff I love. Like, I've written for other people, like Jack Schwab, who we were talking about earlier. Yeah, love Jack. But yeah, I'll get him to, and it's disservice to say he's not a lyricist at all, because he is awesome.
He's great, yeah.
But he sort of, I said to him last time I was in the studio with him, I was like, you know, put something on the guitar, like, just play something. And he played something, I was like, got it. You know, like, I had nothing in my head, and I was like, as soon as you played that, I don't know where this is going. And we did end up recording a demo of that song anyway at some point, so that might see the light of day eventually.
That's exciting.
But yeah, no, so I think it's lyrics first for me, but that's I don't like only doing that. Like, I think you need variety in your writing.
Yeah, of course. The second song you played seemed very personal lyrically.
Yes.
And you did give us a disclaimer at the beginning earlier. You said that it's going to be a bit dark.
Yes.
But it's still kind of upbeat in the same...
Yeah, so the way I describe that song is it's my favourite type of song to write and my favourite type of song to play, because I describe it as two sad songs in a trench coat pretending to be a happy song.
Perfect.
So the music's very upbeat.
Mm-hmm.
Like musically, you know, it's up tempo, it's sort of like major key and all of that. But the lyrics are quite sad when you listen to it. Yeah. And even the melody, like if you're not listening to the lyrics, it's fairly upbeat. But I think that I really like that juxtaposition, sort of having that way of sort of almost surprising your audience. And also seeing who's actually listening.
Yeah, and is this a personal kind of story? Or?
Yes, yeah. So once lockdown hit, as a lot of people did, I really struggled with my mental health, and sort of ended up in therapy a few times and stuff. And I'm a lot better now, and part of that is because I'm on medication for ADHD now, and sort of the symptoms of depression and ADHD go like hand in hand a lot of the time. So that's helped me massively. But I did write that song very recently because I find it a lot easier to reflect on stuff and write about it. Like writing retrospectively comes a lot easier to me. Yeah. Because I'm sort of out of that moment. And what I'll quite often do is in the moment, when I'm going through something, I'll write it down. I'll sort of, I've got hundreds and hundreds of notes in my phone with just random lyrics, even if it's just a phrase, a few words. And then when I come back to write a song about it, I can scroll through and see if there's anything I like. If I hit a roadblock, or I look at a verse I've written and go, it feels a bit detached. It doesn't feel sort of like emotional and raw. Like, if you're writing a sad song and it's not emotional, you're doing something wrong. So I tend to have that to sort of look back on for authenticity, I guess, to make it feel more real. Which it is, it's just written retrospectively.
Yeah. But I do also feel like Losing Time, it's called Losing Time?
Losing Time is,
I feel like this one is kind of very relatable. In some ways it feels objective, like it doesn't feel like it's just your story, because it's something that a lot of people are probably going through or have been through in the last few years, which is a nice way to write like a story. I've
had a lot of people come up to me after gigs and stuff and say to me sort of like, I'm really moved by that song, I really relate to that song. And it's sort of like it didn't surprise me per se, but like I was a little bit shocked that I was like, so many people were relating to this song. It's a bit sad in a way, but it's also really nice to know that sort of like I'm connecting with people on that level. And I think it's such an important thing to talk about, and I think it's not always easy to talk about. And I've had friends who, I wouldn't really know much is wrong, much is going on with them, even if I ask sort of, it's not manly to talk about or whatever, which is just a load of something that I won't say on the radio. But they connect with the song, and sort of it's easier to talk to them about it through that lens. And I think that's super important. Like if people can't talk about it openly, then if they can relate to it in the form of music, then that's really important.
I've been told I'm cynical, but I think I hide it well. It's nothing but a miracle that I'm still on this carousel. Oh, I've been going round in circles, and I'm right back where I fell. It took me more than 80 days, but the world has told me all it needs to tell. I'm terrified, then I'm not really scared at all. I swear I've tried, the feeling just won't shake at all. I feel the world keeps spinning round. I'm rooted to the spot I find. Everyone's moving faster, but I'm losing time. I'm losing time. It seems the ground is caving in, and I've started looking for a sign. Everyone's moving faster, but I'm losing time. I'm losing time. I'm losing time. I'm losing time. I've been told to suck it up, but only when I speak my mind. I've been told to seek some help, but you know I ain't got time. I'm making peace with leaving in my wake a mess. The mantelpiece, as good a home as any, I guess. I feel the world keeps spinning round. I'm rooted to the spot I find. Everyone's moving faster, but I'm losing time. I'm losing time. It seems the ground keeps caving in, and I've started looking for a sign. I'm falling in slow motion, 'cause I'm losing time. I'm losing time. I'm losing time. And I feel better now and then, but it doesn't tip the scale. And I feel worse around my friends, 'cause they might feel like they failed. And I'm holding on, so my mum won't lose the son, so my dad won't have to speak at a lonely chapel in midweek, so my brother won't reflect on missed calls and unread texts, so I won't feel the guilt if I live. I feel the world keeps spinning round. I'm stood so still, we intertwine. One with the earth, I'm laid to rest. I'm losing time. I'm losing time. I'm losing time. I'm losing time.
The Alpha Sessions.
How are you finding getting your music out there through other means online?
So I had over sort of, I think it was the second lockdown, I sort of got into TikTok. I was like, you know, I didn't want to be one of those people who post TikToks, but I was like, yeah, it's fine because it's music, it's different, right? So I sort of got it and wasn't having sort of massive success. And then I posted a really stupid video that I don't even remember recording because I was really drunk. And I for some reason thought it would be a great idea after I got really drunk in my halls to record a video of me playing the Scooby-Doo theme tune. What's New Scooby-Doo? What's New Scooby-Doo specifically, not the first one. But yeah, and then I absolutely stack it at the end of the video. Like I just trip over and fall out of frame and you hear like a big crash. And I saw it in my drafts the next day when I was, when you're really hungover and you go through your phone, you're like, I don't remember last night, and I need to know what happened. Like, have I posted to anything? Like, oh, like the beer fear was intense, proper anxiety, and I found that in my drafts, and I was like, that's a little bit funny. It's like it's stupid, but it's kind of funny. Might as well post it. So I posted it, and it got something mental. Like I think it was like 200,000. Or like 150,000 views.
Oh my god.
Like, yeah, it was mental. Yeah, I think it was like 150,000 views, which was, I was like, oh my god. And then I went from literally about 90 followers to 10,000 in the next couple of weeks.
Wow.
And I kept posting, and that number grew and it grew. And I got up to a little over 45,000. Followers, and so I had a cover of Best Song Ever, One Direction, got like 1.3 million views. I had like a Harry Styles cover that got like 250,000 views. So I had like a few really well performing videos, and then I had like everything was consistently sort of like 10, 20,000. So I was having lots of success with it. Then sort of I had my third year of uni started, and I was already sort of struggling with the load of social media, like the cognitive load of it, and just the exhaustion, the burnout. And then my mum was diagnosed with cancer last year.
Oh God.
And I sort of just stopped the music stuff a little bit, because I was like, it's my final year at uni. I've got this going on. I don't have the space in my life for it right now. I don't have enough arms to be spinning that many plates. So I sort of stepped back from the social media side of stuff, and I didn't really post anything for about 6 months. And this summer I've just I'm getting back into it now. Sort of started posting maybe a month ago. So now that I've stepped back into it, I'm finding it quite difficult. Sort of recapturing that audience. And like I'm very lucky in the sense that I've still got over 40,000 followers as a baseline. But I'm lucky if I reach 1,000 of those. Like I genuinely not sure for more than 1 or 2 videos I have reached more than 1,000 people. Which when I say it out loud sounds silly, because I'm like, 1,000 people seeing my video, that's really cool. But then I look at it through the lens of social media, and I'm like, oh, I should be doing better. These people are doing this. I used to be doing this. And I've found it can be quite overwhelming. And I think it was one of the things that definitely affected my mental health. I think I've got a much better grasp on it now, and a much healthier relationship with it. But it is difficult. Like, it is just tough.
Yeah, trying to keep up that consistency.
100%.
It is another full-time job, I think, on top of being a musician,
100%.
having a job, and then even just isolating TikTok on its own, social media in general.
So yeah, I mean, just like I take even if I record loads of videos at once, it's taking quite a lot of time out for that, and then I'm taking time out to do a load of video editing, which is not like my primary skill set. It's something I've picked up, but it's not like what I do. It's not like my passion. So that's sort of something I have to make myself do.
Yeah.
And that sort of increases that sort of cognitive load and that burnout. And but on the other hand, you can reach such a wide audience. So it's sort of like, it's weighing whether that's worth it to you.
Yeah.
And for me, it is. Yeah. I don't see another way to really make it as easily, as consistently. Not that it's easy in any way. But yeah.
Well, it's good that you've had that experience now, because for the next single, which is the final song we're going to hear from you, when you start promoting that, whenever that may be, in the next month or two, it probably you'll capture that audience, because you've already got them there waiting.
Yes.
And it feels like you've lost them maybe compared to how it was in the beginning, but
100%.
as soon as you put something out there that's engaging and fresh and new and like, what is this? We've never seen this before.
Yeah.
It would probably just come flooding back in.
Yeah, a lot of the content I've been posting since I've got back into social media has been me in my bedroom playing covers.
Yeah.
And like, that's all well and good, right? There's a certain level of that people expect from a musician on TikTok. Yeah. But it's not that exciting, really. The stuff that blew up was either like entertaining in another way, like funny or something, or like songs that really resonate with my audience, like Taylor Swift, Harry Styles, One Direction, like those kinds of artists. And I will never get bored of playing their songs, for sure. But I also want to be able to promote my own stuff. Yeah. But I'm hoping that once I sort of get that out there in a proper promotional capacity, in a professionally recorded mixed master capacity, rather than a kid in his room with a guitar, it might get a bit more attention.
Yeah, I think it probably will. Now, the song is called Do It To Myself.
Do It To Myself, yes.
And is this another very personal, lyrically...
Yeah, it's very lyrically driven, I think. Like, this song, for me, for this song, the 3 big influences for this song, I would say, are Paul Simon, in the lyricism, one of my all-time biggest influences, but his like clever, tricky wordplay, like the way he puts together words you would never think about, like he's just phenomenal. And I think I really try and embody that, and this is one of those songs where that lyricism was really important for me. Maisie Peters, probably my favourite artist at the moment. Seen her once already this year, seen her 2 more times this year later. But yeah, just huge Maisie Peters fan, and like just it's so good. It's so catchy, like lyrically very clever, but also like it's proper pop, like pure and simple. It's pop music, and it's executed very, very well. And that's something I can like, I really look up to. And then the other would be sort of, I guess, instrumentally, the 1975, because whilst obviously you'll hear me with an acoustic guitar, like it was written in my bedroom, and that acoustic guitar, that exact one, is on it with that exact part. It's almost got a more garage bandy feel, like sort of, you know, you got your drums, bass, like lead guitar, and it's like big, like upbeat, like garage bandy song. So 1975 instrumentally were definitely an influence on sort of like lead guitar parts and stuff like that. So yeah, it's a mishmash.
That's good. We love a mishmash.
Yeah.
Are you looking forward to the release process, or is it kind of daunting because it's your first one? It's your debut.
I mean, I'm incredibly excited. Like the stuff I've had so many new experiences, like in the lead up, like being able to talk about it with you. I've had the photo shoot for the single cover recently. Nice. I mean, just getting in last year, being in the studio and sort of like, it's just such an awesome experience. Like, you know, like parking up in a recording room opposite like Arlo Parks next door or something. And I was like, this is so cool. So on that side of it, it's been awesome, and I'm so excited, like for the build up, for people to hear it. But yeah, it's stressful, it's daunting. Yeah. Like it's sort of like, it feels a little bit like everything I've done up until this point has sort of culminated here. So I want it to go well, of course I do. But it's you know, the songs, I didn't want it to take itself too seriously. Like I wanted it to be fun first and foremost. Like I wanted it to be fun, I wanted it to feel authentic. So I'm trying not to stress too much, because I want it to be laid back in terms of, like, I don't want my stress to come across in the marketing process.
I think you'll be all right, though. I think you got this all under control.
Yeah. I'm excited.
I'm excited. We're all excited. So we're going to hear from you in a second, your last song. But for now, if anyone wants to find you on social media, what should they look for, or where are you most active? So
Ben.Burwell on both TikTok and Instagram. And I dabble in threads now. Threads.
We're dabbling.
But yeah, TikTok and Instagram. So TikTok is, you'll see a lot more content from me in terms of like covers, like me actually playing. Instagram is where I post everything about my gigs and stuff, like. So if you want gig information, it's ben.burwell, and that's ben.burwell.
Beautiful. Well, Ben, thank you for coming in. I've had a lovely time.
Yeah, it's been lovely chatting to you. Thank you for having me in.
I've got a radio in my mind. I'm tuned into FMU without the M sometimes. Oh, I'm joking, for coping, it's easier to lie. So I'm bursting with the thought of you, like stars that film the night. And I'll find the words for you in a silly hide and seek between my thoughts and my mouth. I won't win, so I won't speak. I'm not a poet, I'm not gonna rehearse my lines. Maybe a wordsmith, but the word just feels too kind. I'm no romantic, love me if you're so compelled. I'm not a martyr, 'cause I do it to myself. I've got a TV behind my eyes. The satellite is broken and it's static half the time. When it's focused, you're the closest thing to death in paradise. 'Cause I don't know what's gonna happen, but it feels like you might. And that's what happens when we watch it. But I can't just say those words, I've gotta write it down, revise and then rehearse. I'm not a poet, but I can't rehearse my lines. Maybe a wordsmith, but the word just feels too kind. I'm no romantic. Love me if you're so compelled. I'm not a martyr, 'cause I do it to myself. I lost you once, I can't do that again. But I found you stronger than before. I know you think about it now and then. You found me stronger than before. I'm no believer, there's something heavenly. Maybe a dreamer, what you say we meant to be. You've something timeless, fade into the evergreen. I'll photosynthesize love for you and me. I'm not a poet, I can't rehearse my lines. Baby, you wordsmith, the word just feels too kind. I'm no romantic, love me if you're so compelled. I'm not a martyr, 'cause I do it to myself. To myself.